Hello, everybody, and welcome to Virtual Bourbon. My name is Steve Akley. I own a company called the ABV Network. We're into anything media. We also do events and things like this. We do virtual tastings online. We've got a fun one tonight because we have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get involved ourselves in an experiment that Maker's Mark did. So Maker's Mark is a classic brand, and we're going to kind of get into a little bit of the history here today before we get started. The company was founded in 1953. They didn't start laying down bourbon until about a year later, though. So that's certainly of note, and that'll play into our story in just a little bit here as well. And their bourbon is 90 proof. Comes off, at 110, just like we're going to be trying our lowest one that we're going to be trying tonight, the one that comes off at 110. That is the same as theirs. So the idea was to see what the impact of adding water to this, what the impact has on taste. We're adding it up front. Gotcha. Okay. So the idea is to check that out. So again, Makers enters the barrel at 110 proof. So, but they wanted to try what happens if they enter it at 115, 120, and 125. So that being the difference there. And does anybody know why they would want to check that out and see if they're doing the best? Why would you be interested in going in at 125 proof versus 110?
Well, see if they made the right call all those years ago.
That's certainly part of it. Absolutely. Yeah.
The cost of barrels, cost of warehousing.
Correct. That's the big thing. Of course, if you're going in to the barrel at 110 proof, you're adding the water up front. You're going to have to proof it down to 90. The product is a 90 proof product, so you're going to have to add water. You could add water after the fact. You could, if you bring it off the still and put it in at 125 proof, you're going to need less barrels. But again, what is the impact then? Because that water is not going through the entire aging process. There's less water in there. So of course you need less barrels, which is a big expense. Again, for a craft distillery, a small craft distillery, might not make a huge difference, but you get to a large distillery like Maker's Mark, those barrels are going to add up very quickly, and we're talking hundreds of thousands, maybe into the millions of dollars. That's going to run them on a year. So the idea is to see, did they get it right? And you may ask, why did they come in? Were they always a purist like this? They are so devoted to consistency, and were they a purist back in the day? Is this why they're going into the 110 entry proof? And we have to remember that they started in 1954. So in 1934, they put into place, because prior to that wasn't necessarily regulated, and barrel entry, they looked at that average barrel entry, talked to a lot of different distilleries, that type of thing, and they saw that it was whiskey was going into the barrel between 90 and 105 proof. So they gave them a little bit of wiggle room, and in 1934, again, this is following Prohibition, starting to kind of more and more regulations come to whiskey, and we saw that beginning with the Bottled and Bond Act on forward, that whiskey is a highly regulated product. So they came up with 110 proof was the highest barrel entry that you could do. So again, Maker's Mark making their first barrels of bourbon in 1954. 110 was the highest that you could do. Now that would change. In 1962, it moved from 110 to 125. Now Makers could have made that change anytime between now and then. We did see more regulation come to the industry, of course, in 64, where they defined what a bourbon is and all that, but they left it the same. So it's been 125 ever since then. And, but they have said, because their original recipe was the 110, they don't want to change anything. Makers is very adverse to anything changing. They use the same farmer always. They use the same water. They have a lake, and they're looking at 30 years down the road. If they continue to grow like they are, they're going to need more than that lake provides. So they bought an adjacent farm with another lake that's going to be the same area and that type of thing. And of course, as they've expanded and need more stills, they go to the exact same manufacturers. They get the wood for their fermenters from the exact same place. Everything has to be exactly the same size, exactly the same dimensions, put in the same place in the building. They're not going to, okay, here's still one here, half mile down the road on the property. Well, no, it all has to be together. They want everything as consistent as possible. So they decided to test, though, is this the best proof for us? Now, we're going in and doing our little science experiment here ourselves. Makers has come back and said, yes, we nailed it. 110 is the perfect barrel entry proof. We think that's the best offering of the ones that we're going to be trying tonight. So we're gonna test this ourselves, and that's why we're going to rank these and see what we come up with. Do we agree with Makers' findings? Now, I talked to Jane Bowie, and she said, they'll never do anything like this again. And that makes sense. Why would you do it again? You've done it one time. They aged this stuff. Again, this is 8 years in the works, and they tasted it all along the way. So it's a big project to undertake. They put together 100 barrels, 25 of each. Everything was the same. It was on the fourth floor. They didn't rotate it. You hear about Makers rotating barrels. They didn't touch these. They just left all of them, made on the same time, put on the same floor. And so everything would be as similar as possible for these particular barrels. Are they still rotating barrels? Yes. Yeah. They don't rotate all of them. I think the idea is that they do rotate all. I understand they don't. They rotate top and bottom. But again, these weren't impacted by that. So these were not part of any of the rotation or anything like that. They wanted to keep them consistent, so no one could say, well, that's why it's different. So that was the idea with this. So again, they came up with that. I do have a video that I'd like to play if I can get this to work. I'm not typically great at sharing screens, but we had Jane Bowie on, and she was on the Bourbon Talk Show, which is something that we do on YouTube. And Jane Bowie was on with us, and she was joined by Andrew Webrink from Independent Stave. The two of them work on most of their wood projects together, barrel stuff. So of course, Makers having only one product. Everything that they make is from the exact same recipe, and they change things with the wood. So the idea was, while I had them on, I asked them about this, and you'll hear Jane talking a little bit about what you guys can expect tonight as we go through these. So let me pull that up, and we will see, you'll see Jane on the Bourbon Talk Show. Can we see that? A little bit about the DNA experiment that is just out now, because I did buy a set of those. I was just at Makers last weekend, and I got that. We're going to do an event around that. What should we expect as we're tasting that? What do you think is going to be the experience there, Jane?
I think most people are surprised, and Andrew's been a part. He wasn't necessarily a part
right
of
at the beginning, but yeah.
But he's been a part of it. And,
okay.
He knows more about flavor development in the barrel than anyone I know. And this whole project was about the role of entry proof during maturation and what those correlations looked like. And I think if you had asked us 8 years ago, is it going to be different? We would have said, yeah, it's going to be different. And I think you probably would have thought they stair-stepped a little and there was correlation. There's not. Mm-hmm. The reality is the role of entry proof is so much more substantial than we ever could have imagined. There's probably a lot of smart distillers out there that would have known it would have been so different. I think I don't have a science background, right? So it's one of those things you hear, oh, water's the universal solvent. Okay, what does that mean? It means when there's more water, it's going to pull everything out of the barrel more aggressively. And so when you taste these whiskeys, the 110, it's just more of everything. And you find the flavor perceptions are so different in these four whiskeys. So even though, they might have similar compounds or similar things from a DNA standpoint, your flavor perception is going to be totally different. For example, that 110, more wood sugars, more tannins, more baking. It's just richer, deeper. There's more. The 115 kind of goes to this weird earthy, nutty place. And then the 120 is like tropical fruit hitting you in the face. And you're like, how did that happen?
Right.
Like, why is that happening in this whiskey? So 8 years of a ton of research, and we're going to finish out the project to say we're not going to change a thing at Maker's Mark. But
right. No, that's cool though. It justifies what you've been doing, so that's neat.
I will tell you, you will love the tasting. Even if it's not like you get these bottles and it's like, let's go drink them and I want to drink this. They're all great whiskeys. We know how to make good whiskey. They're just so different. And the reality is the other three are not Maker's Mark. And so it was we learned a ton. We shared a lot of learnings with Andrew, they've done similar experiments at ISC where they're kind of trying to understand proof alcohol to water ratio and how the barrel extracts into that and what reactions will create over time. But it was fascinating.
So there you go. That's Jane just talking a little bit about what happened with that. So pretty interesting stuff there. Again, this is a little bit different than the regular Maker's Mark. Regular Maker's Mark is a non-age stated product, but we know that it's typically about 6 years old is what they'll even tell you, in that range. It's based on taste, though. It could be older than that, could be a little bit younger than that, depends on the individual barrel taste. But that's about what goes into there. These are 8 years old. Now you say, well, they're trying to do an experiment. Well, they were tasting along the way. They got to taste it at 6 years old. But I think they don't want to put out a product that's exactly the same for us to try, which makes some sense. They don't want to give us that sort of insight. So they waited a couple more years. This is 8 years old. Jim asked before about the proofs, and the proofs are different than they went in. And so because things change in the barrel, and these are presented at barrel strength. So your again, regular Maker's Mark is 90 proof. The one that went in at 110, which would be the same barrel entry proof as the regular Makers, is now 116. That's the biggest change out of any of them. So 110 is now 116 proof. The 115 barrel entry proof is 117.1. The 120 is 122.3. And finally, the 125 is 125.4. So with all that background, it is now time to taste some whiskey. Before we do that, we have that one last step. We do pour one ahead. So let's go ahead and pour our 110. Let's get that one in the glass, but we're going to be drinking, first of all, the regular Maker's Mark. That's the one we're going to be trying. Our control. Is the water or the alcohol itself what's moving in and out of the wood with the heat? It's both. But according to Jane, and again, I'm not, an expert. Certainly, she claims she's not a science expert. Neither am I. But it is both. But she says that the water, does make it move more aggressively in and out. So that was her point that she said in the video there. If you caught that, I don't know, Gary. Do you have a thought on that? Gary is a distiller. We'll pull him to this one. Or not.
You're asking whether it's the water or the alcohol that goes in and out?
Yeah. And do you think
traditionally, you think about the humidity on the outside of the barrel having a big effect on which one it is. You have a high humidity, your alcohol will tend to lose faster. If it's a lower humidity, then the water will move faster.
Yeah.
And your proof will go up. Your proof will go up east of the Rockies, and it'll go down west of the Rockies, kind of concept. So if it's dry, water's going to leave more quickly than alcohol. And if it's wet, the alcohol we use.
Yeah. Interesting.
Osmosis, the degree of concentration of what it is.
Yeah.
Both sides of the way. Because the barrel is a semi-permeable membrane in essence.
Right. It's porous. So, well, all right, let's grab that Maker's Mark. Let's talk a little bit about that one on the nose. Again, probably a product very familiar to, I would guess, everyone on here. I mean, Maker's is a standard. I mean, what do we think on the nose? Maker's on the nose, right? I mean, kind of light brown sugar.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I get a cherry vanilla, but for some reason with these recent Makers, I get a grassy note deep in there for some reason. For the last 9 months to a year, I'm getting some grassy note out of these things that I don't know what's changing or what's going on. Maybe it's just the batch that came through the last 5-6 years with interaction with the barrel.
Yeah. Interesting.
I also get kind of a honeysuckle.
Honeysuckle. Yeah. I agree with Danny. That's definitely there. All right, let's taste it. First one of the night. Cheers, gang.
Cheers.
Again, 90 proof. It's, you get the kind of the classic notes there. I mean, it is a little drying too on the palate at the end, but it does warm up. a little bit. But I get, brown sugar, caramel, oak, certainly. And that oak gives it that little bit of a kind of like a dry wine, a little bit of that taste with this one. But I mean, solid. It's a good solid bourbon. It is sippable, but certainly, works well in cocktails too. What do you guys think? Call on a couple of folks here. Again, we'll try to mix this up as we go. We'll call on Don Knott first. Don, what do you get? What do you taste on this one?
Yeah, very dry.
Mhm.
Lots of sugar for me.
Okay.
But maybe, I don't know, you said 6 years is their normal.
Yeah.
It newer to me than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maybe that's the grassier note. Maybe they're going a little bit younger these days. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's such a huge demand. They will do different things when the demand is up. So what about Nick and Kyle? What do you guys think as you taste this one?
I always get a bit of a spice on Makers, like a
Mhm.
allspice or a clove, and this one's no different. Obviously,
Yeah.
you get that warmth and a lot of the sweet notes, the caramel, vanilla type stuff.
Yeah.
But standard bourbon.
Yep. I see Rick drinking some there. Rick, what are your thoughts?
Well, the word I use is floral. It
Mhm.
tastes flowery. It has a sweetness to it. Yeah, I taste the caramel and all that kind of stuff. I have to admit that Makers is not my favorite bourbon.
Right. Okay.
So
We're going to change that by the end of the night. I can't promise. I can't promise that. I haven't even tried these.
But it does have. I find the comment that it tastes younger interesting. It doesn't have some of the deeper complexities that I expect to have out of a 6 year.
Yeah. Is anybody on here was their first bourbon Maker's Mark? Their first kind of one that they gravitated towards? Anybody on here? Just one, two. I mean, to me, I think it's usually at least the classic one. Maybe today's different because there's so much knowledge out there, and bourbon's such a big part of bourbon community and all this history and all the kind of stuff you get. Maybe it's different, but me coming up and drinking bourbon, your bourbon drinkers drank one of two things kicking off their bourbon career: Jim Beam White Label or Maker's Mark. That was it, I think. You drank one of the two of those. No, Danny's going to say Wild Turkey, but I don't think. No, that was what our dads were drinking.
I started with Jack, so I can't speak.
Yeah. That's different.
No, I shouldn't say that. I started with my mom's bourbon, which was JTS Brown.
JTS Brown. That's not a bad choice.
In a
Actually,
plastic
like
box.
JTS Brown.
Yeah. I'm from St. Louis, so my parents always had David Nicholson. David Nicholson is what they had on hand. So that's a big thing here in the STL, even to this day, to some degree, I guess. But in the 70s and 80s, yeah, it was huge. Danny, what are you getting as you taste just the regular Maker's Mark?
I will agree with the more floral type taste. And sweetness, definitely. So
Yeah. All right, well, Scott. Let's go jump down to Scott. We'll talk to Kathy as well. Just start with Scott.
It's a great go-to. Yeah, no real different notes coming through.
Okay.
It's very standard, reliable. Always good. So
Yeah.
this one is just in the same vein as what everyone said.
Okay. Kathy?
Yeah, dry. Definitely. I'm getting the wood.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what happens with these bigger proofs.
Yeah. One more I want to call on is David L. David, what are your thoughts as you taste our first one of the night, which is our Control, just a regular Maker's Mark?
I mean, the thing I usually get from Makers and most weeded bourbons is some kind of a chocolatey note. I'll admit I do get it more in the like the higher proof, the private selects and things like that, but I'm still there a little bit. It's still there a little bit in the lower proof as well.
Yeah, maybe
Makers I came to pretty late, so
yeah, gotcha.
Oddly late.
All right, let's move on. We're going to pour the 115, but we're going to be sampling the 110. Again, the 110 is the equivalent of what we just drank. It's the same barrel entry proof. Again, aged a little bit longer, also presented at barrel strength. As a reminder, the barrel strength on this one comes in at 116. So it was put into the barrel at 110, came out of the barrel at 116. All right. It's very different on the nose.
Beautiful. Peaches and cream.
Yeah.
Creme brulee.
Creme brulee, I think. Yeah. Very easy on the nose. Anything else? Standing out?
Tons of fruit, like crisp summer fruit, like apples and peaches and pears.
Apples, peaches, pears. Yeah. 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 Layered in its nose for sure.
Call it a fruit salad. There's a
fruit
lot.
Salad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right on. This one's exquisite.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. As soon as I smelled it, it was immediate just fruit.
Yeah.
Cherries, a little bit of floral.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Definitely.
Let's give this thing a taste. I think we're all excited about this, right? This is a big moment. This is a big moment. We get to try this experiment. 110 barrel entry. Let's give it a taste. Here we go. Yeah. I mean, that's solid. So if you remember back to the video we just watched, Jane said it's, like the regular makers, the 110 in the experiment just kind of intensifies. And I think it's there. I mean, the other kind of classic notes, it's definitely kind of dark brown sugar for me. There is fruity notes in there. And it's got a nice intensity, nice oak, again, less drying than the other one. While it's more intense on the oak, it's not as drying as the other one, which I think is good. Coats the palate all over, says Don. I agree. So, yeah.
I get a lot of that chocolate that David was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of chocolate on that.
All of those fruits we were talking about are now covered in chocolate.
Chocolate covered fruits. Yeah. This is not a bad thing.
That's fantastic.
It's like we're at the Sizzler. It's like we're at the Sizzler on the bar.
I taste the 2-year age difference.
Mm-hmm.
I taste more complexity, which surprises me because makers at 6 years I thought was going to be complex.
Right.
But I can taste the difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's
You ever had those?
Not watered down. That's the thing is the first sample tasted more watered down.
Mm-hmm.
And it's partly because they are proofing it back down to 90. I think at the bringing even this at the barrel strength, which I don't think I've ever had anything that was really over like 111, even in the private select. So this is the highest proof makers I've had, and this is one of the best tasting so far.
Yeah.
It definitely it's more complex. It's got a much better finish. I'm definitely getting the pear notes coming through for sure, and some of the brown sugar caramels.
Yeah. This is such an interesting experiment too, because makers go through this process and they come out and they say, hey, you saw Jane on there. It's like, we're done. The experiment's over. The 110 is the best. So it'll be interesting to see what a group of just huge bourbon fans has to say, because we know these days, what is it? What's it all about? Proof. Everyone wants proof. Do everything barrel strength, do it barrel. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we agree with that, or this group trends more towards, because we're going to be trying some, we got a 122.3 coming up and a 125.4. So we're going to be drinking some pretty high up there stuff. So in terms of proof. So, all right. Yeah, maybe they'll come out with a new line. Yeah. They do keep reinventing ways to utilize the same product. So this would be yet another way they could do something. So interesting. Let's share some tasting notes. Again, I'll call on again some randomly here, try to get some different people involved. I'm going to start with Sally. Sally's always a good one because she'll tell you how it is. If she likes it, she's going to tell you. If she hates it, believe me, she'll flay this thing right here in front of every one of you. No problem. What are you thinking, Sally?
So the first one I called a sundae with all the toppings, but no ice cream.
Okay.
So it had the caramel and the chocolate and the maraschino cherries and the strawberry sauce. But the second one is it's the Whole Foods version, right? It's the actual fruit with the 70% cacao chocolate with the homemade caramel sauce. It's up a notch, right?
That's eloquent. Yeah. That's good. It's nice. Brad, let's see if you can be as constructive and as good as that. We'll see. We'll see how Brad does. He's not typically a huge tasting notes guy, so he's kind of
no. I'm not a tasting
always out of his element with this stuff. But go ahead, Brad.
No. This second one blew the first one away. I'd be curious what it's like at 116.
Yeah.
And I would love to have a face-to-face with Jane about that. So
yeah.
Taking notes. No, this is better.
Okay. All right. We'll make sure Jane sees this too. So she pays attention to us. So that's cool. Dave Anderson, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so I did a couple tours at Makers. They have this one tour where it's like they do this thing where they give you underaged and then overaged.
Yeah.
And then the normal makers. And me and my girlfriend, we both love the overaged, which the tour guide didn't appreciate. But this reminds me of the overaged. We're like, please sell this. It's amazing. Right. So it brings me back to that. I get a lot of almond extract.
Okay.
So for some reason, that's a flavor that stands out to me.
All right. Call him Mr. Bill. Mr. Bill.
I like it.
There you go. For those that don't,
we only had
Bill,
we've only had 2 samples, but I prefer number 2 over number 1. So.
Okay, fair enough. So yeah, Mr. Bill, if he says he likes it, that's what he's going to give you, and that's a great. Any distillery wants that "I like it" tag on their bottles. You're going to start seeing that. We're sure of it. Yeah, Mr. Bill says I like it. All right, we'll go to a distiller here. Gary, what are your thoughts? Tasting notes on the second one. What are you thinking they got going on here with this?
Well, I jumped ahead a little bit, got my bottles mixed up, and I already went and tasted a little bit of the 115. So I really don't want to talk about the 110 any longer.
Hey, that's a preview for us. It sounds like we got good things ahead, so we'll see.
We go in at 125 and we do barrel take. We select barrels at 125 or 123, 124, and that's my frame of reference. So,
okay, all right.
I won't say much until we get done, I think.
Okay, all right. Gary's going to hold his comments till the end. All right, one more, and then we'll move on to our next one, Mr. Evan Van Scoyk. Evan, are you playing along here? I know Evan hasn't. He has a food poisoning thing going on over the holidays. I just think he didn't want to see family. It was like, oh, food poisoning.
Still did that. So,
yeah.
So just kind of basing this against the control. I mean, if we were putting that in a blind, I immediately want to move past that. The control was not good. I was like, that's short, thin, astringent. Don't like it. This one definitely brought a lot more. So all of the things you want on the nose are there. And my tasting note was like spiced cacao nibs. I don't know if you ever got like a bag of those cacao nibs, but they're definitely like, it's not like just normal dark chocolate. It's got kind of like those hits to it.
Yeah, that's cool. Oh, I like that. So that's good. I don't think I've officially called on Tim. Tim, I want to leave you out, man.
The folks all hit it. I think this one is a desserts drink right off the bat. It almost has a. I'm going to go a little more detailed than everybody else said. It's almost like it's a finished product and like a sherry barrel or something was done to this thing that to really finish it off.
It's really good. It's
very
really good,
very unique. Yeah, from a maker's product, but the maker's sweet right to the tip of the tongue finish as it fades lets you know that you had a nice sweet cocktail there in front of you. That's a good dram.
Yeah, it definitely is, and it's got to be in the mix here for the best of. I would think it's going to be hard to top, but Gary previewed ahead. He thinks we got good things ahead. We'll see. So let's go ahead and pour our 120, but we're going to pour that and set it aside. We're keeping our thing where we work one ahead. So pour that one, but then once you get that poured, grab the 115. Let's talk 115. Again, your 115 is going to come in at 117.1 proof. So not quite as high of a climb for that one.
Calling Gary first.
Okay. On the nose of this one, again, different. I don't know what that nose nose is.
Darker.
It smells darker. Darker fruit, maybe.
Let's get like a pudding.
A pudding. Okay. Now we're talking. Now we're getting into some real notes here.
Fig, oak.
Fig, oak. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Don says heat. It's only going to get worse, I would think. Sure.
I don't find it as full of a nose as the last one. I find this one cuts off a little shorter, but it's sharper, like almost like a spearmint, but something that's there that cuts it off and makes it a sharper.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say medicinal or anything like that, but there's some sharp end there. The other one, just nose in the other one, if you go back to that other one, it just keeps on layering down deeper and deeper and deeper. This one's cut short.
Yeah, I agree. So let's taste it, see where we're at, and we'll talk about it. I mean, I don't know if I have Jane Bowie swimming inside my head right now, but she said earthier, and right away I'm getting a lot more earthy notes on this one versus the fruitier notes on the 110.
Yes.
I mean,
Lots of tannins.
Yeah.
Much spicier.
Mm-hmm. Spicier for sure.
Right up front.
Yeah.
And more like dried fruits instead of fresh fruits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Brad and Sally note says silage. That's a Sally thing, though. That I can guarantee. That's her term. That's from her days on the farm. She said, I don't know if she grew up on a farm. Sally, did you grow up on a farm? Where does this come from?
Burnt sugar.
Well, I did. It's not so much a working farm as more for fun for my dad. But silage is a mix of corn with the whole stalk and the corn all ground up, and some alfalfa and some whatever weeds are grown in the neighboring fields put together. And so it's a little bit fermented. It's a little musty, very earthy though, but in a fermented sense, not fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I went to right after a rainstorm on a farm. When I tasted right off the bat.
Yes.
Farmhouse, right to a rain, something like that. That earthy, that heavier air type. Just that's the memory that popped right in my head after I tasted that one.
Okay.
Yeah, wet barn.
Let's talk a little other tasting notes. So we'll go to Gary. Gary, we had a request, Gary, from the audience for you to provide any feedback on this one. I don't know.
I get a preponderance of a mushroom.
Mushroom. Okay, that's definitely falls in line with the
kind of a musty,
an
earthy, but to me it's I respect makers a lot, and I hate to really make some comment, but it tastes like the wood got a little old before they made the barrel. Now I know where they get the barrels, and it'd be hard for me to come up with it, but we've had this taste before at our place, and it was because we air dried the wood an exceptionally long time.
Right.
And I don't see that as a possibility with the thing we're talking here. But
yeah, I wouldn't think so.
It has that mushroomy kind of taste to it. So like a really old air dried wood.
Yeah.
Do we know anything about the wood preparation, as Andrews talked about, how much air dried and kiln dried they did on these barrels? And
no, this would just be their normal barrels, whatever that is. So, and they used to be into the longer air drying, but we asked them about that one time, and it's not that long, Gary, that they air dry this stuff.
Yeah, I know. Generally, it isn't. So
yeah, so it's
mushroomy note.
Right.
I was kind of surprised by that, but I don't get the astringency if you up the pay. To me, and this is personal opinion, but when you up the proof, you down the water, and your astringency tannins are those bitter, bitey, astringency ones. I definitely see less of that in this one than the first one.
Yeah.
The first one was more, the second one was less, and this is even less. You have other things coming out that are soluble in the alcohol as you up the alcohol and down the water. The solvent, different things come out.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of interesting to go up the scale a little bit more and see if that holds true.
Yeah. Interesting. David L., what are your thoughts as you taste this one?
I think I'm getting my notes confused. Still on the 115, right?
Yes.
Okay.
On the 115.
Okay. I'll be honest, I'm not getting the same kind of earthy notes or as much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting more, to me, it literally tastes like the 110 proofed up just a little bit. So like, as in not much, to me, not much difference there. There are a little bit more tannin, maybe a little more fruit on the nose, but the palate itself, I'm finding pretty average, but about the same.
Okay. Fair enough. Mr. Whitlatch?
I agree with David. It does remind me a lot of the control sample. It's a little disappointing, actually, after that first, after the 110 that we did. It just seems to lack all the good stuff that was in that 110.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I think makers gotta like that. So in my mind, I have the 110s lead, but we'll see. We got more to do. Dave A., what are your thoughts?
So I gotta say, before I say anything, I didn't like it at first, but I kind of have grown to like it.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of reminds me of
now you can't have enough. Yeah, it's like I don't like you. I kind of like you. I love you.
Well, after trying the 110, it's kind of hard to like anything. I think. But it kind of reminds me of kind of like a combination of like I just mowed my grass.
Yeah.
And kind of going off of what Gary said, I kind of went up in my attic, and it kind of has that old musty woods kind of.
Yep.
Good. But again, I like it. Like somehow that works out for me. So.
Okay. Well, a couple more here. Again, get everybody engaged. Jim from Louisiana.
I agree, a lot with the earthy, musty wood tones. I was getting a lot of that more, but the funny thing is I poured mine a little farther ahead than you did. And I can tell you now that the nose on this one is really, really changing from when I first nosed it and tasted it. And I think it's going to be a whole lot different second pass.
We will go through a second time. So yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing how much it changes and what we're going to find different on it.
That's why you can never lock these in your mind, because they do change. They do change. Again, a couple more. Danny, we'll ask you, and then Don Knott will ask you after Danny, and then we'll move on.
Well, I will have to agree with Gary with the mushroom type taste, because what it reminds me of is like when you go to a restaurant and you go to the salad bar, they've got the cut up baby bell mushrooms that you put on your salad. That's it. That's a good thing. I like that. So.
All right. Yeah. Danny notoriously have said some of our products we sell in the ABV Network shopper is not a good thing. So yeah. He wants that hoodie to have a zipper on it. Otherwise, it's not a good thing. So, exactly. All right. Don, how about you?
Well, as you know, it's your palate that dictates what you've been trying. I don't eat mushrooms, so I didn't get any mushroom taste at all. I didn't get any mustiness or earthiness. I think the only thing I could say is it had like a lot of wood flavor, and the closest bourbon that tastes like to me would be Baker's 107.
Baker's 107. Okay. All right. Yeah. I don't like mushrooms either. For the record, I don't like mushrooms either. Slimy fungus. Not into that. All right. Let's pour our last one of the night, which is going to be our 125. We're going to pour that, set it aside. We're not working ahead. Some have done that. We're not going to allow that. That's not sanctioned by the ABV Network. Our 120. So our 120 again comes in at 122.3 proof now. So it has gone up just a little bit. And let's talk about this one. Smells a lot better. I agree. Kind of chewing gummish. What sort of chewing gum? That's key.
Fruit stripe.
Fruit stripe. All right. We gotta call for the fruit stripe.
I'm getting more like a big league chew.
The big league chew. Love that big league chew when you're growing up.
I second the big league chew. 100%.
All right. Yeah. Got the big league chew going on. Okay. Let's try it. Color's beautiful on this one. I like the color. A little light mahogany. Let's give it a try. Interesting. For me, it tastes a little bit like Cracker Jack, you know, it's got the darker caramel on it versus, you know, the lighter stuff of like Fiddle Faddle or some of the other brands. Like a Fig Newton cookie. Yeah, I kind of get that too. The kind of a darker fruit, but with baked goods there.
Lots of tongue sweater on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Very dry.
It is back to dry. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very dry. Textbook bourbon. Yeah, classic bourbon notes. We are working on a flavor wheel, and one of the options on the wheel is going to be bourbon. just to anger anybody who never does our tastings, because that's a classic note. When you say this tastes like classic bourbon, there's a lot that goes into that. That's like saying this is bottle and bond. There's things that you know about that bottle when you see bottle and bond. But when you say that this bourbon tastes like a bourbon, for me as a bourbon fan, that tells me some things. And yeah, I'm okay with that. I like that idea. So we're working on that. Tongue sweater for dry. New favorite term. Yeah. What else? Let's call on some folks here and get some tasting notes. Rick, how about you and Julie there? What are your thoughts?
Well, the 110 over the standard bearer was remarkably better. The 115 was only incremental over the 110. I didn't feel the difference there.
Mm-hmm.
This one, though, is another step up.
Okay.
It's a better quality. I'm not good at this, but after I drink it, it has a better aftertaste. It has a more full, balanced flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Julie, you wanted to say something?
I liked it.
Mrs. Bill over here.
Yes, yeah, she's now lifting her material from Bill, so it's okay. That's all right. All right.
It's good.
Okay. Mr. Bill, what's your thoughts on this one?
To everyone.
I like it. I think I like number 2 better, but I like it.
Okay. Okay. Don't lock in though, because things do change. So yeah, we'll
Gotcha.
see. We'll see. Yeah, don't corner yourself. You'll pigeonhole yourself. Tim Swyatt, how about you?
I find it very similar to the last one. Just amped up a little bit. The finish is a little more palatable when it comes to this one. It stays around a little longer. For some reason, at the tail end, I get a banana note for something there, and I'm like, that's just so odd from a maker's product, and maybe I'm off. But
Right.
there's something there that's just like that hits me. I'm like, oh, why does this taste like a Brown Forman product? For some reason, I don't know why, but I get there towards the end, and then it's just like, nah, I'm good. I'll move on to the next.
Okay.
Not my favorite so far.
Not your favorite so far. All right. Who else do we need to call on? Dave Anderson.
This one to me tastes kind of like you took the last two and combined them.
Okay.
So it has a lot of the sweetness, but it also has kind of a lot of the earthiness kind of combined.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I'm not a fan. This wasn't my favorite one so far.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. And Evan, we haven't called on you for a second round here.
Yeah, I kind of got like a dried out hot mint. So like not like spice or like too much heat, but as if you took like some mint or some gum and then it was like liquefied, or you put it into like a cocktail and it was like a warm cocktail.
Right.
So almost like if you took like some mint or something and you put it in like a hot tea.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's set this one aside. We've got one more to try. Again, we'll go through all of them, but we'll get into this one again. 125 proof, not much of a change here. This one comes in at 125.4. So only went up 0.4. Everything did go up, but this one was up the least, only 0.4. All right.
Definitely getting the creme brulee on this one.
Yeah. Yeah. Creme brulee.
Polished off nose. There's not that tannin, that oak like the other two. This one's more polished off on the ends.
Mm-hmm.
For you there. Yeah, I agree, Danny.
Don's saying he's getting nothing, but maybe he's burnt out there too. That can happen. Doing a bunch of them in a row.
I think I'm getting the grasses that I think it was Tim mentioned early on. I think I'm getting a lot of those notes in this one.
Okay. All right. All right. Last one of the night. We got to do a cheers here. Let's do a cheers, gang.
Cheers.
Cheers. That's pretty tasty. That's pretty darn good. Nice heat, really nice. Boy, like a liquid caramel. There's some cinnamon in there for sure, because you get a little bit of cinnamon spice. Yeah, I like this one a lot. This one's good. Good, good, good. Good long flavors and finish. Yeah. Yeah. It sticks around with you. It heats up.
So for it being so spicy, it's throwing me off because it's a weeder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Not what you expect, right?
No, not what do you expect at all.
Right. Expect just the sweet heat. So yeah. Scott, how about you? Your thoughts on this one as you're tasting it now?
It's good.
Good. Okay. Okay.
I'm really conflicted because I'm, trying to rank them as I go along.
Right.
And you obviously have preconceived notions, and I'm like, well, 1, 3, and 4 are all great. I'm happy with them. 2 was less so, but I drink it any day. Just send me the barrel on over, and I'm good to go.
You're good to go. Yeah, barrel and a tap, and you're set. Okay. All right. Mr. Whitlatch, what are your thoughts on this one?
I really expected this to be a raging beast on the palate, and it's not. It's really soft and flavorful and easier for me to drink than the last two.
Yeah. 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 A couple of those, again, were pretty drying, and this one's not. This one's just really hits the mark. Smooth. Yes, I agree. Smooth.
Smooth.
Sally, what are your thoughts on this one?
I'm a number 4 girl.
Well, I give this one a caramel
Why are we on top?
toasted vanilla silage.
Okay. It sounds like there's some good in there, but a little bit of bad.
It still comes through the sweetness of the corn and the musk and the earth.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Tim, how about you?
With this one, I just find all the edges are buffed around and nice and tight versus the last two that we've had. And I'm getting some odd, I find it that on the palate, I'm not getting the maker's tingle towards the front of the tongue. I'm sitting it right in the middle, like a more barley, really heavy barley balanced, which I think I'm getting some more toasted notes. Some of that oak is really influencing this one that I think balanced out the traditional weeded Maker's Mark notes that you have. This one's very, very unique from them.
Yeah. What about our team of Nick and Kyle up there? What do you guys think?
I really like it.
Mm-hmm.
So basically it's been a bit of a roller coaster for me. I don't love the standard off the shelf Maker's Mark, so the 90 proof was just not super exciting for me. The barrel proof 110 entry was fantastic, and then the 115 and 120 kind of stepped down for me.
We kind of stumbled.
Yeah. And now I'm just like way back up with the 125.
Okay.
That's super interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. It's nice, oily, coats your mouth, nice long finish. I mean, it's just really well balanced, real well rounded.
It's really creamy.
Yes.
Something better.
It's got a lot of texture, which I didn't expect, considering that there was very little texture on the other ones.
Yeah, there's a lot of texture here. It's a great mouthfeel going on there, and it drinks nice, but warms you up just enough where perfect time of year. We're we're getting ready for a cold snap. It sounds like a great idea to drink some of this. So it's perfect. Gary, how about you as you taste this one?
Well, Steve, I jumped into this thing because it intrigued me from a distiller's point, because we're faced with the exact question. We've always gone in at 125 and we like it that way. But I keep hearing all these people going in at 110, 105 and so forth. And I've always said, why? And this to me is kind of proves to me maybe we're doing the right damn thing all in all. And we should
damn straight.
This is pretty tasty to me. And the reason is, but I'm prejudiced. I can't do this without bias. I'm serious.
Well, yeah, you're a guy in business. Yeah.
The barrel, you got water and alcohol in that barrel, and the different tannin groups are different soluble in water and alcohol. So when you up the alcohol down the water, you switch the tannins that come out of that barrel. And this is what I would expect. This is full of floralness. It's got the better wood notes to it coming out of there. They're just really nice notes. As opposed to the first one was getting more of the bitter and the bite, the stringency tannins coming out.
Yeah.
And it kind of overshadows some of those more floral notes. But when you up the proof going in the barrel, there's more alcohol in there to dissolve more of those floral, what I call floral notes, the hard, the allspice, the cinnamon, the cardamom, all those kind of woody type spice things that come out of the wood. This is what does to me is when you go from 110 to 125, you switch the solubility of those things and you get different parts of the wood coming out. Yeah. But I'm really excited to hear what you guys are saying because you're the customer base.
Well, the vote is going to be really exciting. I mean, most of these, you get such a feel for exactly how they're going to go. I don't know how this vote's going to turn out. I think it's going to come down to a couple here, and it's going to be a battle. So it's going to be fun. We have a good sized group tonight, which is nice. We do some of these and it's a smaller group, and one vote, can really change things. This being a little bit bigger size of our offerings, I think is going to give us a much better insight as to what this group really likes out of these as we go back and do these side by side. And David's right. The number 3 char is what they use. So yeah, your big guys all use either number 3 or number 4. That's it. I mean, any of the heritage brands, that's what they're doing, unless it's a specialty offering. They're going to use those higher chars. So, yep. Let's go to one more here. Let's go to Brad and Sally. What are your thoughts on this one, Sally?
Did I already say this one is?
Yeah, I think you did. I think you did. Yeah, this was your
okay.
Is silage, but yeah, a lot of good stuff, and then some
vanilla.
Yeah,
toasted vanilla, caramel, and burnt silage. Yeah, silage. Yeah. But in a really, really good way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jim, we'll toss it to you for the last one here.
I like this one. It was nice. It definitely was getting some wood notes, had a great mouthfeel, nice and oily. It really coated your tongue. It was a long finish, but it was a mouth finish. It wasn't like a hug in your chest finish for me. Enjoyed the flavors. I did get, I was getting some vanillas, up front. So I was definitely getting the sweetness, definitely getting the wood. I really like this one. I like this one better. I thought that this one and the last one, both to me tasted hotter and not like a peppery rye kind of hotter, but like hotter as in, that's the
proof.
If it was higher in the rick. But if these were they were all on the same floor.
All the same, fourth floor.
What surprised me is that they were all next to each other in the middle.
Yes. Yeah.
But, you know, because I've definitely had some barrels like that before where, you know, you get that heat spice, you know, coming through. And that usually to me means, you know, high in the rick house somewhere. So.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. What we're going to do next, we're going to go through these again, not necessarily call on people. We want everybody to contribute, but contribute as you like as we go through them a second time. We're not going to go through the makers, the regular makers. Again, that's just your control. Use that how you want. We're not even rating that. That's not a part of our scoring tonight or anything like that. That one's just there so you can compare, if you like, to the classic product and how that fits in. So that's just kind of a bonus. So we're going to start as we go back through the second time with the 110, the 110. All right. Again, a little bit of time on these now. Let's talk about them. I mean, it's good on the nose. I mean, it's got that, you know, caramel custard notes.
Your classic bourbon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty good. Let's taste it and see where we're at. This one was one of the favorites first time through. Let's see how it stands up second time around.
I get a little more buttery feel on this one now.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, this one comes in at 116 proof. Nice warm finish. I'm getting a little like marshmallow taste in there too. I mean, it's sweet and it's solid. I mean, any other tasting notes?
Spiced apple cider.
Spiced apple cider. Okay. That's good. It stays with the fruity notes, but yeah, some spice, a little bit of kick to it. Mm-hmm. You know, as we go through, you know, be thinking about that ranking 1 through 4 of the 110 to 120. So, anything else before we close the books on this one? Okay. Okay. The record now stands that we can't put anything else in there. If anybody says something, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to ask you to strike it from the record. It does not count. One.
Right, Dave, are we on the old Fitz 9?
Yeah, you might have been the wrong night here. Yeah,
that was Tuesday.
Yeah.
What's the proof?
Yeah, the famous proof question. Yes. So this one, of course, is the 115 entry proof. Now sits at 117.1. 117.1. I mean, on the nose, it's definitely changed a little bit. Definitely not as much earthiness on the nose, but let's see on the taste how that holds up or not. So this was the very earthy one. Let's see on the taste.
Very earthy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big fan of that one.
Yeah.
It's earthy and astringent.
Yeah. Weird, right?
I agree with the astringency. Definitely much more astringent than the last one for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to drink it, but yeah.
I'm going to drink any bourbon in my bar. But
this will be consumed by the end
but
of
the
the night. But yes.
115 of all the upper quality ones is my least favorite. It just doesn't have any oomph to it.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's a technical term. Sorry, you guys are bourbon.
Can you put that in layman's terms?
Sally did on hers, so it had the old thumbs down. That's as
it's a lot
untechnical as it
bitterness
gets. Yeah.
without- A lot of the bitterness without any sweetness.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's really nothing to balance out the astringence or the bitterness.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Okay, next up is number 3, or AKA 115. 115.
120.
120. Sorry.
What?
Excuse me.
It messed things up there. I'm sorry. Luckily, we've got the team here to help out. Thank you.
Wow, that's like a vanilla pudding right there.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah, it really is.
it really is. Much better
Like
than
a
it
vanilla bean, not like
was the
vanilla
first
flavor.
time. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's just the richness, like just like a creamy, sweet vanilla pudding. That was my very first reaction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This one might have approved. We'll see. Let's give it a taste. That feels like it's the lowest proof one. It doesn't feel like there's a lot there to me. It's different.
It almost seems a little disjointed to me.
Mm-hmm.
Not
The
quite
nose
as
got better.
well.
The taste didn't.
Yeah, it doesn't seem quite as well blended as the 110. Like all
Yeah.
the flavors don't really work together.
Yeah.
It's like they're all fighting for dominance.
Yeah. Definitely again, drying on the taste. The end is a little bitter on the end. A little bitter note on the end, which is not pleasant.
Lots of dark chocolate.
Yeah. Which can be bitter, of course. Pretty bitter.
Yeah.
So makes sense.
Grass and endive.
Fresh grass and endive.
Endive, like it's peppery and it's bitter, but it doesn't match the nose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said, the nose got way better, way sweeter.
Yeah.
But it's like really the taste of it itself just didn't.
It fools you. Yeah. Because then you're thinking, okay, the taste is going to be sweet, and it definitely does not match that. Yeah.
It's like a haunted house hidden inside a candy shop.
Yes, exactly. We were all thinking that.
That one's called Hansel and Gretel.
Hansel and Gretel. There you go. There you go. Not bad. All right. Anything else on this one? Okay. Okay. We're going to put it aside. And our last one of the night, which is the 125. We're going to grab that. Let's talk on this one.
Smell your hand.
It's really nice.
I'm getting those same vanilla pudding notes. That I got
It's the dessert course, right? I mean, it's good it's sitting at number 4 because it's desserty on the nose.
Like a buttercream frosting.
Buttercream frosting. That's good. That's good. What else on the nose?
Oh, this one was kind of like a brown sugar, one of those frosted Pop-Tarts.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking? So not like any of the fruit ones, but it's that like brown sugar one.
Right. Right.
I can absolutely see that.
Yeah.
I can see the buttercream frosting as long as if it was on like a white vanilla cake, it's like, kind of almost like an angel food cake, just that super sweetness,
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Last one. Taste. Let's try what we got here. I mean, that's pretty solid. Again, desserty on the taste from the caramel family, maybe even bread pudding like. I mean, I'm getting some of the grain taste in there, which is nice. Some of that wheat flavor. So bread pudding made with wheat bread. But the caramel sauce, it's good. What are you guys getting taste-wise on this one?
Sure did.
It's not a tasting note, but on the higher proofs. So like even though the proofs are pretty close between the 120 and 125 barrel entry, the final proofs were pretty close.
Yeah. Under 10 difference, under 10 difference. So yeah.
Right. On the 125 barrel entry, I get normally when I'm drinking higher proof stuff, I get tingle behind my lower lip.
Mhm.
This one actually wrapped up and around almost all the way back around front. which was really interesting.
It is interesting, right?
Like the 122, the 120 barrel entry proof didn't do that. It just got right about here.
Yeah.
Stopped. But
I'm getting the same thing. Same thing here. So yeah.
The nose and the palate on that one were way better than the 120.
The finish on it just goes for days.
Yeah.
It does.
Goes.
Yeah. Yeah. The kind of finish that you would expect with a high rye, that kind of spiky, keeps, like your arm when it's waking up after you've been sitting wrong and you move, and then it's like, oh, it was asleep, and you get those tingles. You kind of get that tingle in your mouth. It just keeps going. Yeah. Very interesting.
I just wish it had the mouthfeel like the 110 did.
Okay. Anything else for the record? All right. I want to give you just a little bit of time to work independently. Again, you're ranking these. You're ranking the 110, 115, 120, 125. You're not ranking the regular Maker's Mark. It has nothing to do with the evening. You're going to rank them from number 1 being your favorite down to number 4 being your least favorite. And just put those in order. And I'll ask for everyone's in just a second. We've got a spreadsheet that'll calculate it up based on our scoring system that we use on these events.
Steve, do you want the barrel entry proof for the order in which we tasted them?
I think the order in which we tasted them is easiest. So yeah, like A, B, C, D is easy, but yeah, whatever you want to do, because it's not a lot. It's only 4. I can follow whatever. So. Don, I'll write down Don's, but please, everyone else, just hold and I'll ask you guys what yours is. Okay. It's just easier when I work off the spreadsheet, and it's because it's not here in the system. I gotta use the computer. So I'll throw Don's in there now while you guys are finishing up real quick, and then we'll start going through these. All right, Don. Okay. I will be participating tonight as well. I'll be sharing mine in there. I don't do it on the blind tastings. This is not blind, of course. I have no strategic advantage or anything like that over you guys. I just a person doing this. Okay. I've got you guys ordered on the spreadsheet. I'll make sure that I get everybody. I think I've got everybody on the spreadsheet. If I've missed someone, don't worry, we'll add you before we finish this thing out. So is everyone good? Okay, I'm going to switch over again. I'm in a spreadsheet, working on a spreadsheet. I can't see what you're typing if you throw a chat out there. I don't see that. I can hear you, of course, so just call out if there's something for some reason you need to reach out to me. And I'm just going to go.
I need you.
Okay, what do you need? Okay, just a little separation anxiety there. Everything's fine, folks. All right, we're good to go. This is the order, I believe, reverse order that you signed up, I believe. So, but Gary's first on my list, but I'm going to save Gary till near the end. Gary's in the business. We are going to ask Gary to weigh in on this. So, but it'll be coming up. Jim, you're going to be first on the list.
So first on the list, I mean, for me, it was 110, then 125, then the 115 and the 120.
Okay, fair enough. Julie, I want both you and Rick to weigh in. We'll have Julie, we'll have you go first.
4.
She wants the one. She wants, what is that? The
4 and 3 are equally amazing. 2 is not good. 1 is fair.
Okay. I think I got that. It's unconventional how you approached it, but I think I got it.
I am unconventional, Steve.
All right, fair enough. Rick, you're next.
All right. Well, the first thing I have to tell you, Steve, is that you've ruined my appreciation of Maker's Mark.
Nice.
Because all respect to Jane, but she was wrong.
Okay.
These are better than the standard bearer.
Okay.
With that being said, I'm going to go mostly in reverse order of proof. I want 125 first.
Okay.
Then I want 120.
Okay.
Then I'm going to go to 110.
Okay.
And then 115.
Gotcha. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Next up on my list is Danny. In theory, it's Danny.
Okay, now I've unmuted myself.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, I like the 125 first.
Okay.
I will have to throw this out there. I like it a lot better than the Samuel Jr. special release that it's all 46 staves.
Right. Bill Samuels Jr. Yeah. No.
Yes.
Okay. So 125 is your number one. What's
Yes.
number two for you?
Number two will be the 120.
120. Okay.
Number three will be the 110.
Okay.
And number four will be 115.
Okay.
And then control is 5.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. Kyle, I've got you down next.
All right. I like the 110 the best.
Okay.
And then the 125,
Okay.
120, 115.
Okay. Nick, how about you?
All right, same thing.
Same thing. Okay.
The 110, I think, really hit all the marks for me as far as like top notch.
This is very close, folks. Please don't try to keep track yourself. I'm an expert here. Bob Whitlatch, what are your thoughts?
Exactly what Nick and Kyle said. 110,
Okay.
125, 120, 115.
Gotcha. Okay. Tim Swyatt.
ADCB. So 110, 125, 120, 115.
Okay. All right. Next up is Bill Lewis. Mr. Bill?
I think I'm going pretty close to everybody else. Alpha, Delta, Charlie, Bravo.
Okay. He's a military guy. All right. Kathy Cool.
I'm going to go 1, 4, 3, 2.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Scott.
Same.
Same.
And if you ever release another damn product without letters or numbers on it, you got this
He doesn't
upon
like
yourself.
that people are voting in different ways. He's an accountant.
Yeah, but I got to keep track of it. So long as I'm okay, it's fine. It's fine.
I know, no.
And you're doing great.
It's
Steve.
all good. I'm just,
yeah. Okay.
it's, you know.
you know,
It's not like you gave us a letter P.
Right. So some were messed up. Justine, and she dropped off. I don't know why she dropped off, but yeah, we had a thing where they should all be A, B, C, D. They should always follow that because that's the system that you need to use, especially because we're using numbers to score them. You know, for a while she was trying to put down 1, 2, 3, and I was like, that's too confusing. I'm going to give a 1, a 3, a 2, a 4. I was like, oh, that's too much. So I think moving forward, it'll all be A, B, C, but we'll see. Dave L, you're next.
All right, so I had the 120 first.
Okay.
Followed by the 110.
Okay.
Then the 125, then 115.
Okay. All right. Dave A.
So I had the 110 first,
Okay.
the 120, then the 125, then the 115.
Okay. Fair enough. Evan Van Scoyk.
By the way, that's not how you actually pronounce.
I think
my name.
that's how it's
Steve just
pronounced.
loves to do that.
I think that's how it's pronounced. You got
That's the way I've always heard it.
Yeah, it has to. It goes upward.
It has to be in the right octave.
If that's the way it's going to be, Steve, you're going to have to start incorporating Lord into it now that I'm officially a Lord of Scotland.
Are you sure it's Glencoe? I thought it was Glencoe, Kentucky. You were actually
No,
a landowner.
it's-
Yeah,
it's-
it's right down
it
the
is-
street from Sparta, Kentucky.
I'm a lord too.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Yeah. So it'll be Lord Van Scoyk from
Scoyk.
now on. But I had 125 entry, followed
Okay.
by 110,
Okay.
followed by 120,
Okay.
and 115 last.
Okay. All right. Sally Mitchell.
Yes. I'll go with, 2015.
Oh, you're going to have to do that again. You started breaking up there. You were good the whole night up until the time we needed to give your scores, Sally.
All right, I'll call 110, 45, 15.
Was 115 and then 120. Okay. Got you. Brad, how about you?
I'm somewhere stuck between ACDC and CBGB. Just kidding.
Oh, Lord.
I don't know how we're bringing this still. 125
Okay.
is first. 110 is second. 120 is
Okay.
third. 15 is
15. Okay.
115 sucks.
Okay. Gary, let's get yours.
yeah. And I'll be more than happy to give all of you participation trophies for playing tonight if you didn't go with my guesses. So.
Gary, what do you got?
Well, as I said before, I'm probably a poor judge here because I'm biased.
Yeah. Well,
And-
you're like the Russian judge at the Olympics. We might not understand your score, but you have a ticket, so you get to vote.
Yeah,
That's how it is.
so I really like the 125.
Okay.
I thought that brought out the better part of the wood. And the next one to it was the 120.
The 120. Okay.
And I like the 110 over the 115.
All right.
So I would do 125, 120, 110, and 115 at the last. To me, the 115 just got caught in the middle. It wasn't that good, and the proof was, it just didn't add. I don't know. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
But I just think the higher proof in this situation brought out the best part of the wood.
He just named him Evan.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
Okay. Did I miss anyone? I think I got everyone there. No one left behind. Okay.
Did you get Mr. Bill?
Did I get? Yeah, I got Mr. Bill. Yeah.
Okay.
He did the Alpha Delta. Yeah, he was the military one.
All right.
Yeah. I get to vote, so I went to the 110 was my favorite, then the 125, then the 120, then the 115. So that a lot of you had that exact same vote. That's how I went too. So we do have a clear-cut winner here, folks. We do. Let me come back live here for a second. So we've gone through the process. Again, Maker's Mark went through it themselves. They said, you know what, our 110, that is the best one of the night. And we'll see if we live up to that. Everyone here got a vote. We got a decent sized group. Not everyone showed up though, who has a ticket. Things can change. It ends up being that close. We'll start at in fourth place. In fourth place, I think everyone gets this. Least favorite was the 115. The 115 came in with only 21 points in our scoring system. 115.
I don't know which one you're going.
So the 120 proof, or the third offering that we did, C, that came in with 43 points. 43 points. 43 points. So our first and second is either the 110 or the 125. And I can tell you this, in a very close vote, 125 comes in second place with 61 points. 110 is the favorite of the night. According to us, just like Maker's Mark, we say they got it right. Their 110 barrel entry proof is perfect for their whiskey. Doesn't mean it's perfect for every whiskey. It doesn't mean it's perfect for Gary's or anybody else's.
With how many points?
For theirs. They got 65 points. 65.
But isn't this 110 aged 2 more years than their standard makers?
That is correct. Yes, that is correct. On average. Now, we know that this is 8 years. Standard makers is about 6 years. It's not 6 years age stated or anything like that. It could be less than that. They do it supposedly by taste. And of course they batch it in huge batches. So it's going to level out a lot of things, but yes.
Well, it's also a higher proof. I mean, I think the highest proof makers I've ever had come off on a private select, which is technically their barrel proof is like 111. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I've had some, because they got the cast strength too, and you get them 110, 111, 112, 113, maybe even as high as 114, but that's been the highest I've ever had. So these were the highest makers that I've ever had tonight for sure.
Definitely.
So Steve, can you read off those numbers again? Number one got 63 votes. How about two?
Yeah. So number one got 65 points.
Okay.
Number two, just going in order here of 1, 2, 3, 4. So number one being the 110 proof got 65 points. Number two, 115 got 21 points. Number three, the 120 entry got 43 points. And then finally, the 125 barrel entry got 61, that close.
Very close.
Very close. And we had, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 no-shows. I have to think. Now things could stay exactly the same, or they could have changed. Our vote is that close that, a couple more show up and things change. So there you go. That's correct. 65, 4, 3, 20. Yes. Yeah, that's it. Well, there you go, gang. What do you think?
That was awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty cool, right? I mean,
really cool. Yeah,
it was a fun exercise to go through. Makers did that themselves, and it's fun to go through that too. And it's kind of cool that ultimately we agree with their empirical data, what they found.
Sort of.
Yeah,
sort of.
Well,
dude, that's the way it is.
No, listen though, listen.
I was going to say that I think
the Shelfie came in 4th place for me.
The Shelfie came in 4th. Okay.
The only one that came in behind the Shelfie was the 115.
Yeah, we were. The group was definitely not fans of the 115.
No.
I think. Let me go back and see if anybody. Let's see here.
Nobody had that as number one. I don't think.
No. The best it did was 3rd, and a couple people had it at 3rd, but so it was mostly everyone's 4th place pick out of the ones that we voted on. Again, we didn't incorporate the regular makers in there, but yeah.
We should have.
Yeah, or I should have tried out. Got a cast strength. I was thinking, let's do the base because that's ultimately what they're. But maybe I should have got a cast strength and put that in there.
I think the difference is though, Steve. It's like we're seeing a 4-point difference roughly between the 110 and the 125.
Mm-hmm.
That tells me there's at least a market for the 125 entry proof. Maybe not as big as the 110. I mean, the 125 had a lot going for it. It really did.
Yep.
I agree.
It's just that I got a lot more flavor out of that 110. Overall, I thought, it's like there was definitely, I got the oiliness and the consistency and the finish on the 125 that I like, with a little bit of the heat from the proof, but
yeah, it's a good product. And like I said, they're always looking for unique ways to expand by utilizing the same things. Well, maybe based on this, there is the possibility of a new product out there, and maybe it's called 125 entry proof. Yeah, we'll see. Scott, you got a question? I see you.
I do. So they were looking at this from a perspective of what does our product taste like at various entry proofs? Did they taste it at 90, or were they tasting it the same way we did?
No, I'm sure the answer is actually both. I mean, they're tasting it out of the barrel, but they're also proofing it down too, because that's the ultimate comparison. And we can't really do that because we don't have hydrometers, ability to, we can put a couple drops and be like, oh, we can try to do this, but yeah. So we can't officially proof it down to 90 ourselves. I mean, Gary could, I guess. Gary has that ability, but.
So my follow-on question to that is, does 110 taste better at 90 than 125? Because that's a lot more water on the back end.
Right.
And I mean, and I know where we started, and we started with, well, if you're aging it and everything at 125, you're saving a lot of space. All of the other that come along with
They
it.
they do too, Scott, though, because they only have one product. They do have to make sure it is good at the cast strength as well, because they have a cast strength product. They have their private select, which they're selling at cast strength. So they do have to make sure that's a legit thing to taste it at the strength that we tasted it tonight, because they do sell the products at those strengths too. So and not necessarily the exact same barrel strength as we had it, of course, because it's based every it's going to be always be different. But
yeah, I've never seen anything over 112. So
yeah, I haven't seen. Yeah, so that 110, this 110 batch, again, it's 25 barrels. They made 25 barrels of each, and this one comes in at 116, and I've never seen their cast strength or anything like that high. It's usually not much more than 110. It's usually 111, 112. I mean, but
is that because they're not aging at 8 years?
And they're also rotating it too. They're rotating it, so that's
the rotation does it.
Yeah, the rotating's gonna be a control.
Level.
Yeah. And supposedly near the middle, it's 4th floor. So yeah, aren't they usually 10, 11 high? I mean, they're pretty high up there. So that's pretty low, actually, 4th floor. So
there were 7.
I
drank, I forget.
Yeah. When you go on a tour,
the best of us.
Apparently Lenny hit a sticker on a Maker's Barrel somewhere on the tour. So look for a Deer Hammer sticker when you go. When you go there, look for a Deer Hammer sticker. That's not them putting that on there. Lenny snuck one in somewhere in the Rick house. They probably have interns.
Probably found that since he said it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's the way they cheat. Yeah, that's the way they cheat. They don't listen to all the like in the old days. You had the ability to just listen to podcasts and those type of things. You'd have to listen to the whole thing. So how do you know that they're talking about Maker's Mark? These days with computers, they can search the top podcasts and things like that and pick out, and then they know, okay, listen to this podcast because they're talking about Makers on that show and stuff like that. So the PR got all that.
Maker's Mark.
Maker's Mark.
The machines are
the whole show is Maker's Mark, so they will definitely check this out.
Candy Graham.
Andy Graham. So there you go. Ultimately, 110 prevails. That's what prevailed in their study too. So I don't know. I feel pretty good about it. And but I also like the idea that my second was at 125. I liked it too. So there may be something there for them. So that's our suggestion coming out of this.
But
explore
it was
that as well.
Close.
Yeah, it was close. So on that note, I'll say goodbye. Again, I stick around, talk. We can chat, talk bourbon, whatever you want to talk about, but we do turn off the recorder and make it available to those folks at 10 to 10 and put it on our YouTube channel. So thanks, guys. See ya.
Thank you, Steve.
All right.
Thank you,
bye.
Steve. Take care.
Peace.